Peace, family. Wait. Yeah, playing. Peace. How you doing, family? Love. Who's out there? Right. Okay. So, before I do anything, I would like to pour libations to the divine family. Um, in all melanated cultures, there's some type of ceremony in which we observe and give thanks and acknowledge our ancestors, because it is our culture in which we teach that we are all collectively a family. Those of us who are here in life right now, and those of us who have not come yet, and those of us who have already came and have transitioned. So we also take into consideration a lot of different other elements. But in this libation, I would like to invoke those elements. So when we do speak the name of a specific ancestor or whoever or whatever entity we invoke through this libation, we are answered with we answer and respond with Ashe. So I'm going to pour this and I'm demonstrate for you all what that process looks like. But this is for our ancestors, and I like to invoke our divine family. I like to give thanks and appreciation, deep love for everything that was given to us. Thank you so much. So to our ancestors, for all the feminine and all the divine manifestation souls and spirits that have transitioned through this life and left so many blessings and lessons for us, we like to say Ashe. To the abundant nature, to the winds, the trees, the fire, the water, the earth, the animals, all of nature, Mother Nature, who feeds us, who allows us to, who sustains us. We would never be anywhere without you, and so we like to acknowledge and give thanks and pour libation and give reverence and just so much joy for having nature. So we love you. Thank you so much, Mother Nature. Shame. To our celestial divine hierarchy, to our universal family, to our cosmic family, we give thanks so much, because it is so benevolent to know that you exist on so many other planes. So we, like I said, our family was not short of just people who are here on Earth, and I like to give thanks and acknowledge those celestial beings who assist us in this transition of life. So thank you, and Ashe. Ashe. To the all, to our Creator, to the benevolent and abundant one, to the oneness, knowing that we all come from oneness. We all have a common origin. The oneness, the divine spark, the all within all. We love you so much, and we give reverence to that. We give reverence to that entity, and as creations, we understand that we are our Creator, and we experience ourselves through ourselves. So give thanks for that. Ashe, ashe, ashe. To our elders who, both men and women who are out still here living with us, our martyrs, we thank you so much for your dedication, for your devotion. We want you to know that you are not, your work was not done in vain, and it is well appreciated, and it is well respected, and it will be perpetuated in the way it was supposed to be. So we give thanks for you, for your guidance, for your wisdom, for your longevity, for your discipline, and for your sacrifice. We thank you so much, elders. Ashe. To all my contemporaries, To all of the gods and goddesses, all my contemporaries out there, man, Ashe, because I love the abundant nature and potential and strength of my generation. I love us. I love us so much that because we are thorough. That's the best word right now to describe it. But I give so many thanks and I pour this libation and respect to all of your families, and respect to all of your ancestors, and respect to all of your the children or the people attached to you, because it took a lot for you to join this journey. It took a lot for you to do what you're doing. It's still taking a lot for you to wake up every day. So I appreciate all my contemporaries. I know what it's like, and I'm there and I'm here with you. So I say. To myself, to my family, to the God within myself, I give so many thanks to being there for myself when I've had so many issues with myself, and for forgiving myself, for allowing myself to forgive myself. I give thanks for myself, and I give thanks to myself and my family, and that includes my mother and my father. My they're so divine. I would not trade my family for anything, and if it was not for my family, I would not have been able to do half the things that I'm able to do now. And I'm so thankful for them, and I love them so dearly. I say. And last but certainly not least, our children. Our children who have yet to come, all of our children and all of the babies who are here now and have yet to come. I give so thanks to the ancestors for coming back and returning through us and bringing us all this wisdom and knowledge and light and love, man, and just the good stuff. So I give thanks for all of our children, and all the children have yet to be born. I say, little crystal babies. I always take something for myself. I am the wise one. That is my name. And I greet you in peace and salir to the divine family and the universal family. As you see, the title of this video is the Melago Movement. And pretty much what the Melago Movement is melanated indigos. You feel me? So you're not a millennial. We got to stop defining ourselves as a millennial, because when we define ourselves as millennials, it kind of traps us into this concept of the digital age. So yeah, it traps us in there's been many millennials, you know what I'm saying? There's been many different millenniums. So what makes us the millennials? But if you really think about it, what symbolism or what mentality is tied to a millennial? It's all someone who's heavily in tune with their phone, so it's part of this identity. You know what I mean? So we're not millennials at all, because people try to associate millennial with indigo, and that's totally different because the value system is totally different. Indigo doesn't have the same value system as a millennial, and so it's a melanated indigo. And before people start to go in and say, well, indigo it's not about having melanin. We all have melanin. It's not about who has more melanin or not and things of that nature. But I'm emphasizing, and what the Melago movement emphasizes is the difference in experience because of melanin. I understand that the indigo experience, like, indigo itself is the color of the third eye, right? And it's all about awaken. It's all about awakenings. It's all about us doing that, but it still is a big experience difference, because melanin has it itself, it gives us a different experience. The direct influence of melanin, and because you have that direct influence of melanin, and you have like a difference in experience of life because of this melanin, we have a difference in experience of the indigo experience, this new awakening that we are experiencing or sharing in. Because you have that direct influence of melanin, it is different for you. This is a different, yes, it is about self-awakening, but it means a lot more to you ancestrally. So now I'm not gonna give a in-depth breakdown of melanin. And if you are looking for that, the best, or what I think that some of the best scholars to go and check out, would be like Dr. Richard King, Dr. Liala Afrika, Dr. Delbert Blair, Bobby Hemmett, and the divine spiritual grandfather, Phil Valentine. But me specifically, when discussing what I'm going to say about melanin, I'm just going to be discussing or be using or referencing two specific books. Okay, so I will go look them up, and I'm going to put all those people's names in the description box so you can have all of that information. But this is the first book that I want to reference, Metu Neter by Nefer. Hopefully it's not backwards. Should have a way to do that, but I also put this in there too. But he talks about, first he talks about a lot in this book, but in the first couple of chapters, he talks about the difference between there being two basic principles in this world that we experience. And he said those two basic principles can be understood as cultures, and one being a inner culture, another one being a outer culture. One being a influence of internal subtle things that happen in energy, right? And another way in another culture which experiences things externally, outer, right? So then he says that he also then associates this inner and outer culture, or this function of the life that we understand, to the function of the left hemisphere of the brain and the right hemisphere of the brain, saying that if you have a predominance of this outer culture, which in its manifested view, it looks as though that you have a dependence on external means to create internal things. And so the opposite of the inner culture, when you have when you use the predominant of the right hemisphere of the brain, you have a reliance on the internal innate things that you come to this planet, or you come to this experience of life with, and that is your driving force. That is what guides your decisions. You know what I mean? Not the outer, not the external thing. So he was saying that there's a state of consciousness, or a culture in which uses both. So one that uses the external and the internal, so equilibrium. And so then he relates he said that you can also measure the cultures of the world in antiquity and of contemporary cultures. You can measure them in civilizations. You can measure them based off you can measure their achievements based off of the function of the brain that they were using, the side of the brain that was dominant in their functionality, in their culture, right, in the way they move. So he was saying that that all of Western and European cultures can be found, their civilization, their societal achievements and cultural achievements can be associated, when, as you notice, that Europeans, everywhere they go on the planet, it's always destruction, can be, and that can be associated because there's a left dominant association with the brain, which is the reliance on external. So you see, this is why in the culture right now that we live in, ruled by European consciousness, you see that in order to be successful, you need external means. Or this is what, is a popular notion, the status quo, that you need things like, a degree, a piece of paper to say that you've learned a certain set of knowledge. You know what I mean? Or you need a certain amount of pictures of of presidents to be considered wealthy. You know what I'm saying? So it's that type of consciousness that the dominant influence of this division or hemisphere of the brain has, opposed to other cultures like Eastern cultures and Chinese, India cultures, who have the predominance of the right hemisphere of the brain. And this is why a lot of their society is ruled by spirituality, and a lot of their politics, a lot of their lifestyle, a lot of their culture is just, their spirituality is very rooted in their culture. And especially Indian culture, where things like yoga and things of that nature are very dominant over there. You know what I'm saying? Even the whole vegan, and around Nefer Ma'amim, what he was saying. Oh, and there was also, the equilibrium of the two, which would be the black originators of civilization. You see, like ancient Kemet and things of that nature. And so our ancient ancestors were able to access and use both hemispheres of the brain in a balanced way. And he was saying that this is why all of the civilizations in antiquity were black. This is why they were black, because they were able to access this right side of the brain. Found in this right side of the brain, you have, and it's because it's also related to this diagram. It looks like this. When you you see the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere of the brain. However, I'm gonna show you this book right here, when it talks about the functions. You see, she in this book, Brainstyles by Marlane Miller, she talks about the functions of the brain styles, or the different hemispheres of the brain, saying one, is the common knowledge we learn. People learn this in higher education institutions, that the left side of the hemisphere of the brain is analytic. It separates. Its main function is to separate things, to be able to see things in a category, linear. The right hemisphere sees things conjoined. Everything is conjoined in the right hemisphere of the brain. So these are the differential functions of the two, and this is why one is called the inner culture and one is called the outer culture. But it also looks like this. It also looks like this, where you have the area of the occipital lobe, where you see back here, storing the functions of the right hemisphere of the brain, of imagination and visualization and things of that nature, because your occipital lobe controls your visualization. So this is where your imagination comes from. This is the seat of your imagination, and you have what conjoins the two functions of the brain is a thing called the pineal gland. And this is all, and both Nefer and this woman talks about these parts of your brain which activate this energy which is found in the deep part of your brain. Like I said, if you go get Dr. Richard King and all of those scholars, specifically Bobby Hemmett, he taught me and taught us that these certain things, like your melanin or your Abdullah oblongata, these parts of your brain have the most concentrated, potent presence of melanin, and your pineal gland and your hypothalamus region of your brain, which is your pineal pituitary, and it secretes that melanin. You know, it basically synthesizes that melanin, right? So Europeans have a calcified. Now, there's a historical reason for this. If you want to know why this happened, you can go see people like Sheikh Anta Diop, some of our ancestors who dedicated their lives of preserving this story and keeping this truth alive, because there's a lot of lies here that we are all equal, that we experience life the same way. But this is not true, and we do very basically, but this is not true. So you then have that pineal gland calcified in Europeans. You find that pineal gland is calcified in most Europeans, right? And yes, calcified. And what that means is that they cannot access the hidden regions or the concentrated places of melanin. Like melanated people have a functioning pineal gland which allows them. You can also get the movie, look at the movie Hidden Colors 2, and I think it's on YouTube. And this whole entire documentary will explain to you what melanin is. It documents what melanin is, and so that is the reason why we have black skin. That is the reason, because our functioning pineal gland, and because we have functioning pineal gland, we have melanin in every cell in our body, every part of our body. So this is why Europeans are carbon-based beings, because melanin is the basic block of the basic substance of the universe. You see what I'm saying? So it's as old as anything. So at the base of your essence, you're the oldest thing ever. Everything in nature also has melanin. So this is why it's the basis of life, of science, of nature. You know what I'm saying? It's the basis of life. Even our ancestors in ancient Egypt, the original term for ancient Egypt was called Kemet, right? And that Kemet is short for black. If you look this up in any book, Kem means black, and they called themselves the Kemites because they said that they were the land of the black people. They were the black people. So this term of blackness always was found inside of our identity. We've always identified with being black and with having melanin. And even Herodotus, if you was to go get Sheikh Anta Diop's book, and he says this in his book, African Origins of Civilizations, Myth or Reality. He says that Herodotus, when he came into Egypt, he reported that they had dark skin and dark skin and flat nose and frizzled hair. Okay, so melanin makes us biochemically. So it's the thing that we call swag. I wanted to say that before I said that. It's the thing that we call swag, juice, soul, right? Because everything in nature has melanin. Therefore, we have a organic connection with everything in nature. This is why we love so much. This is why we feel so much, because we literally have a bond, right? An organic genetic bond, because DNA is found in our, melanin is found in our DNA. So we have a genetic bond with nature. You see? So we are biochemically, psychically different than Europeans. Okay? And this biochemical, psychological difference, taught to us in all medical books that modern science validates and confirms and knows, that there's a conditional difference in experience because of this. We have a difference in experiencing looking at the sun. We have a difference in experiencing hearing music, tasting food. This is why we can dribble a basketball and there's a Michael Jordan, he's flying in the world, right? This is why you get a sport like hockey, right? And you have, when a black man touches it, he almost becomes the best player in the league, you know, or a sport like baseball, right? Or any sport, golf, specifically golf, because golf is supposed to be a mental sport. It's supposed to be a sport about aerodynamics. And the person who's running it is Tiger Woods, a black man. You know what I'm saying? So because of this melanin, because he has a difference in experience with the very thing that we're talking about. So we have so this produced a different world view. This is difference in experience produced a different world view than our ancestors, or than those without melanin. We viewed the world as holistic. This is why we had a predominance of the right brain, and this is why we were able to attain such a high civilization, because we seen everything was connected. Europeans have a problem with that, and they see everything as separate. You feel me? So, that being said, is a difference in worldview. So we cannot view this indigo experience in its nature the same innately. Even when we're talking about it, we talk about it differently innately, but we just don't consciously do that. So this is what the Melago movement is here to do. Yes. So, okay, and now I'm explaining the indigo. I got some notes, man, because I be needing sometimes to keep my shit in order sometimes when I'm speaking directly about a purpose. You know what I mean? But y'all get to know me throughout my videos. Right. So, yes, there's tons of different information about about indigo life, about indigo children, about what it means to be an indigo. There's so much information on that. However, it speaks more. How I'm going to explain it, the best way that I want to explain it is through this timeline of melanated consciousness. Wait till this plane goes. It's hella lugubrious out here. You can't even see the motherfucker. Might not even motherfucking be there. But so this timeline, in order to describe the time that we're in, because we're in the indigo time. We're in the time of the indigo. And so I'm going to show you this timeline of consciousness, which includes different. It's a timeline of melanated consciousness. I wanted to be clear. Timeline of melanated consciousness and a timeline of melanated identity. The timeline of consciousness as we transitioned and where we are now as we are experiencing the Melago time. So I in the timeline I include different elements such as different social movements, different individuals, different events that happen and world events, and I emphasize, or I have a aim, or more of like a filter through music, and how this all relates to identity, our identity, as melanated beings. And so this timeline. So I'm not going to, if you really want to get deep into the timeline, you really want to know the whole timeline, if you really want to know, hit me up. I'm going to leave my email, I'm going to leave everything that you can hit me up with, but hit me up and contact me, because if you really want to know the timeline, hit me up. If you really want to get hip to that. But And there's other videos too talking about this timeline of consciousness that I'm speaking of. Phil Valentine, I think even Brother Panic mentioned it before. But here it is. Kind of looks like this right here. I want to make sure I'm getting that. So this is kind of like the essence of it. As you can see, we went from slave to nigger to Negro to colored to black to African American, and now down here 2008 for the Melago movement and to be Melanites. And yes, so I'm going to specifically speak about the Indigo time, right? I'm right now for this video, and like I said, if you want to know more information about that and what happened and certain things, really want to know about it and where you play a part in it, you hit me up. To really understand this Indigo child or the Indigo experience, it is very to me it's very important to understand the age of Aquarius and what the age of Aquarius is and what that means. For those of you who don't know, the universe is not on a fixed cycle. You know what I mean? Like the sun travels through the ecliptic and all of that, but it also, the universe itself shifts, it grows and expands. So therefore, we are growing and expanding as a solar system. So this is what they mean by the age of Aquarius, because we are leaving the age of Pisces, which had values of belief, values of deception, values of illusions, a lot of different things. And this is why the world that if you talk to anybody who's in tune with the whole Indigo thing, the world that they're telling you that they're leaving from is that world that was predominantly ruled by the left hemisphere of the brain. And now we're going into a world which is predominantly ruled by the right hemisphere of seeing things in tune and seeing things connected. So some of the keywords was like of the Aquarian age is making room for new values of love, brotherhood, unity, integrity, point in direction of evolution and consciousness, because Aquarian, some of the qualities of Aquarius is like brotherhood and humanitarianism and individuality and things of that nature. And the key word of Pisces is I believe, right? So we're coming from the age of believing into the age of knowing, and because the T word for Aquarius is I know. So freedom, technology, the water bearer, knowledge, you know. So this is the age, because like even though we have different months, different days, we have different time periods, different ages, you know what I'm saying? And these different ages speak to, they kind of have an influence on the activities and the phenomena that happen in our daily life. Right? Right. So you also have in this Aquarian age, specifically, so I want to, and so it's been, like I said, there's a lot of information on this, but a lot of people say that the major part of the Aquarian age changes became prevalent in like the mid 80s, 84, 87. And they said that this is where the indigo crystal babies or the star children or the rainbow children, they're called many things, but there's also actually a system to that. This is why I chose, or the spirit gave me the term Melago over any other term, because and I will all explain that in the timeline why we're Melagos and specifically Indigo. But it says that the Indigos are here to help the world move towards the age of Aquarius values of love, brotherhood, unity, integrity. They possess increased spiritual sensitivity, and have strong ties to the upcoming values. So this is something that the Indigos understand. This is what we understand. We value nature. We our values are to live in tune with nature. So this is why I said there's a difference between the Indigo and the millennial, because the millennial is a phone technology junkie. However, the Indigo is someone who wants to, whose main desire isn't to be the best anything, but to be the best human. And this is where we truly love. This is why this is what we want to do. We have came here to this planet programmed with a lot of different knowledge and awareness that is in alignment with the natural order of nature. And we want to live a life in tune with that. We don't want to live a life out of sync with that. So this is why a lot of people, and a lot of the sources that I've checked, said that you can even check John L. Bolin again. There's a video online with him and a young brother, and he says the same thing. He says that the main function of Indigo children are here to reprogram the planetary grid. So we're here to basically be a glitch in the matrix, and that's a common term amongst Indigo children, that we're glitches in the matrix. You know what I'm saying? That's literally what we came here to do. You see what I'm saying? Because of the Aquarian age, because of the whole entire universe shifting, and we're breaking out of the idea of the Western left hemisphere of the brain, which needs time, which only can see time. It only can see a structure. It needs structure, because it's also your conscious mind, which needs structure. It needs validation. It needs reasoning. So this is why the European psychology has always been to validate itself with things outside of itself, because that's the thing that's what the conscious or left side of the brain needs, opposed to the right side of the brain, which validates itself off of the immaterial, the love, the passion, you know what I'm saying, brotherhood, Aquarian values. So that is what time we are in, the Aquarian age, and the Indigos were sent here and we are sent here to bring humanity. So that's why a lot of us have issues with our parents. That's why a lot of us have issues with a lot of school systems, and cannot quite understand why do I have to go to college, Mom, when I'm learning. My friend is in college now, and I'm learning the same thing she's learning through my phone. You see what I'm saying? Because we're a lot like nature says that's just a waste of time and money, and I can learn what I want to learn from home, and then go straight to where I want to go. So these are Indigo values, right? And so so as you see, when it comes to the Indigos, that is more of a spiritual agenda, right? Bring humanity back to where humanity was before, and that's why I say you got to check. The timeline would tell a lot, but just reading history, just knowing that we lost the ancient cultures that had this high civilization using this right side of their brain, based off these Aquarian cultures, started to deteriorate, and now it's going back. The vibratory rate is going back, and so this is a spiritual agenda, right? But the presence of melanin, and if we just leave out the Aquarian age, if we talk about melanin independent, that is a cultural, ancestral agenda. You see? So you see how now, in the literature of both agendas, speaks to that. But the problem is that the literature does not conjoin that. The spiritual literature of the Aquarian age, it will mention melanin. It'll mention things like one thing Bobby Hemmett taught me was that you got to watch out, because melanin could be put in different languages. So sometimes they'll call it certain things like creative physics. You know what I'm saying? But in these literatures that's telling us about the spiritual agenda, it's telling us about what's going on in the universe, is basically leaving our culture out of it. It's basically leaving the originators of this science and this knowledge and already knew our ancestors who already knew this was going to happen out of the story. And then what happens is the melanated indigos children get too spiritual, but they lose their ancestral way. So we got too spiritual. We love, like yeah, we got too spiritual. Like we love the lifestyle of melanin. We love the lifestyle of melanin, which is the practices that the Aquarian age and the indigo knowledge come with: yoga, tarot cards, divination, meditation. Oh beloved, right? We love all of that shit, but we don't love the life track of melanin. We don't love that this age is really about melanin. It's all about the melanated people, and we don't love that. And but it's because we don't go to our scholars to get that information. We don't go to our people to go get that information. You feel me? So this Aquarian age is we don't go to our people for that information, and it's crazy. We'll go to these different literatures of teaching us this spiritual science, but when you bring in the factor of melanin, you'll understand that it is the melanated ancestors who laid down this science. It is the melanated ancestors who innately, intuitively, using the right hemisphere of their brain, created institutions of human activity. You see what I'm saying? Because they understood what was needed to be done. Yeah, we don't like the life track of melanin, which is the true alchemical function, and where the true alchemical function of melanin in the time that we're in now, in the whole nine, and that true alchemical life track of melanin is where the lifestyle, the hotep, the yoga, the all of that comes out of. It comes out of the life track, not the other way around. You see what I'm saying? So yes. So this is why it's so important, because we will be now in tune with what really needs to happen when it comes, and why we're really in the age of Aquarius is because this is a time for the melanated people to gain a new knowledge of themselves. And one thing I want to speak on specifically, taking a piece out of the timeline for you all, is the parallel reality of the Melagoth movement and the Black Power movement. Okay? It's a conjunction between them two. It's a parallel, aligned reality between the two. Okay? And I'm going to read it because I wrote it down. While they were actualizing revolution, the Black Panthers and the Black Power movement, they were actualizing revolution through protecting themselves from police with weapons and solidarity, right? They were transcending white supremacy, right? Because it was all about, your black is ugly, but they were transcending it into self-love. You can even go see Kwame Ture. Go see Kwame Ture, and he would tell you in the Black Power mixtape, and he would tell you that, also C. Freeman talks about this, that at that time there was a level of self-love that was being experienced by melanated people through the term of black is beautiful. He said that he told a little boy in Trinidad, he said, hey, you're black, you're black and beautiful. Now go run and tell somebody. And it spread it. There's even a video of Kathleen Cleaver, and she's saying how they were embracing their love of themselves, right? So they served, by doing all of that, they served as the key word. And this is the key word that I want everybody to think about when it comes to the Melago movement, the vanguard. That they were the vanguard to our people so that they know it's okay to love yourself and to live free. And they were there to make that happen, or to assist them in making that happen. You feel me? So they were the vanguard so our people can know that it was okay to love yourself. Why? Because they're loving themselves. It's okay to feel free and protected. Why? Because they're free and they're protecting themselves. So it's okay. You are protected. You are free. But our people wouldn't have known that if they weren't there, if they weren't being the vanguard. Also, they were there leading as well as making allegiances with other revolutionary organizations that were not Black Panthers. They were not Panthers, but they were affiliated, Panther affiliated, because it was a time where truth was uncovered and everybody was in this revolution. It was a people's revolution. But the Black Panthers said, no, we're going to be the vanguard and we're going to have to lead. And the reason why they were the vanguard, and you can see there's tons of documentaries, and I'm reasoning up these documentaries because the key word, the root word is document, right? So PBS documentaries, all type of documentaries on Netflix and things of that nature, saying that they were the vanguard because while all these organizations, you had young white liberals, young other street gangs and stuff like that, all needing to be led by the Black Panthers because the Black Panthers were experiencing that oppression that everybody was getting free of, because really what everybody was getting free of, which we now understand, is the left hemisphere thinking. But they were the vanguard and we were the vanguard at that time because we experienced it firsthand. Didn't nobody know the real oppression? Nobody knew oppression like the Black people. So to understand and articulate what needed to be done, they needed to go who had the direct influence of the thing that we're changing. You feel me? So it's the same way. We're experiencing a similar, aligned, parallel reality with the Melago movement. Instead of actualizing revolution, we're actualizing evolution through protecting our spirits, our souls, right? Our consciousness. We're protecting our consciousness from our lower selves, which in that sense would be cops, right? We're protecting it from our lower selves or any lower vibrating beings by transcending the trauma of self-hatred, right? Just like they were transcending the trauma of self-hatred of always, your inferior education they had at that time in the schools. You know what I'm saying? So they're transcending the trauma of self-hatred and anxiety and producing it into self-love. That's Janae Aiko. You are here. Breathe through it, The whole premise, the whole nine of the Aquarian age is to love yourself. It's to understand yourself through all of that. So, just like those different organizations that made up the Black Power movement, because people just think it was the Black Panther Party, there were many other revolutionary, Black revolutionary, melanated revolutionary organizations at that time who were conjoined. It was almost like a community. And we only know the Black Panthers because that's what we're taught. But there were so many other people who did so much other things. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the BLM. Shout out to the Sada Shakur, things of that nature. What up, Baba? So we must be the vanguard. So we must be the vanguard to this new evolution, so that our people know that it's okay to love themselves and live free, and that we are here to assist them make that happen. Hence the practices, the yoga, the healing, the crystals, all of that, which is our ancient ancestors' culture. This is their innate culture. They didn't know a culture other than that. You see what I'm saying? But it's now time for us to get back into our culture so we can, yes, heal and be the vanguard and to lead humanity, because that's the whole point of the Aquarian Age, lead humanity. But nobody knows directly firsthand what it's like to be, like Europeans, even though they were held dominantly by the left hemisphere, they still had opportunities to learn themselves. Like they have archetypes. Like for example, who was I just speaking? I was just talking about an archetype, but I'll just use for convenience somebody like Superman, Superman and Captain America and things of that nature, like who are their archetypes. You know what I'm saying? Indiana Jones and things of that nature, who allows them to express them. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Who allows them to express themselves? Who allows them to be and love themselves? Right, reflecting good knowledge back to themselves. But we have not did that, and even though they had that, they still have to go through a healing process because that wasn't substance. It didn't possess the substantial essence called melanin, which is at the base and the core of everybody's being. You see? So it must be understood and activated because we are melagos by nature and divine lineage. You are indigo child because the time of your birth, you came down during the indigo and you possess that knowledge of the indigo. But because you were manifested through the lineage, you were one of the ancestors, one of the melanated ancestors. You came back here, yes, to do that same thing, be a glitch in the matrix, but it has a different experience. This time means something totally different for you. And so, with that being said, we have to serve as the vanguard of the evolution of humanity. Because, let's just be honest, with the melanin, that's why our ancestors were able to reach a high civilization, a degree of civilization. And that's why we are who we are. You know, that's why we must be the vanguard, because we directly experience the thing that is actually being shifted. Because everybody says, oh, it's about consciousness, you know, the values of love, but the thing that is at the base of consciousness is melanin, which we experience. So I know I'm saying it in different ways, but I want to get that clear to my melagos out there that you are not a millennial, you are a melago. So I'm putting out the call. Sending out the call. Hit me up if you want more information on the timeline, if you want more information on the new clan, if you want more information on the Melago movement. Anybody who views this and does send me an email, I'm going to send you a mix. I'm a DJ. That's one of the many things ways I love to express myself is through DJing. So what I do is I make these medicine mixes, which they're healing, auditory medicine for your consciousness and for your melanin. And I also I'm extending moon readings. I'm doing a lot of moon readings, astrological moon readings. For anybody also who wants them in the spirit of Kwanzaa. So this is my gift to all of the melagos and those who all the indigos. And we have a lot of things coming up that I want everybody to stay in tune with me. A lot of events, videos, working on getting my products online. So build, man. Like I said, hit me up so we can build. Any way I can help, with your brand or anything, any way I can support, let me know. And if you want to be a part, if you want just to chop it up, man, if you want to just build, you know what I mean, I'm here for that. So part 2 of this video will be up soon. Yes, and it's a 3-part series. So be on the lookout for that. And definitely I'll leave all my social media and all of my email and things of that nature in the description so that you can contact me. Like I said, my name is The Wise One. It's the Melago Movement. And it's lit, It's lit, Melago shit, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah. Peace, love, and Zalir.